issued an official statement to protect peaceful demonstrators.
As a former military man, Mr. Zaher, what is your message today to the Egyptian army and these Egyptian people who mostly have been demonstrating peacefully until now?
This is a very good and smart question, and it is also supposed to be the message of the media. My message is as follows. One, message to the so-called Hosni Mubarak, who is no longer the lawful legitimate president. He should abandon his self-paranoia and self-schizophrenic stubbornness. His presence today is nothing but schizophrenia. We offered him, by all means, a safe exit without any trial. At the moment, the situation is very dire and grave. It is not acceptable to the armed forces, to the military institution, which is the only and the sole institution responsible for security. Second, through Al Jazeera and through this smart question, we call on all the Egyptian people in the streets, whether the youth, the young youth, whom I much respect, or the other illusioned youth. I should remember them that you are all Egyptians. The setting ablaze in the Egyptian museum or the military vehicles will have no interest to Egypt. The third message is to the Egyptian opposition parties, is to play their political role only. They should enjoy farsightedness. They should realize that there are domestic, regional, and international axes for the current state of affairs. It is not a cake which should be shared by each and every one. The spirit was great by the young youth who sparked this blessed revolution. And here I wish to name Dr. Al-Baradei, tell him to think thoroughly and carefully. It is not a cake to be handed out or shared out by each and every one. We should consider the domestic security. We should also take into consideration the regional stability and security. We should also consider the Arab strategic positions, which whose eyes are all set on Egypt. Egypt is not an negligible or small country. It has a very big role to play at all levels. And here again, I address the Egyptian opposition parties to take this into consideration and to avoid any opportunistic act.
Okay, well, thank you very much for speaking to us, Mr. Zaher. Mahmoud Zaher on the line there with us from Cairo. He's a former general in the Egyptian military intelligence. Again, you're watching live pictures there from Tahrir Square. For more than a week now, thousands of pro-democracy demonstrators have been protesting against the president, Hosni Mubarak, but it's now clear that their views aren't shared by all. Jackie Rowland reports from Cairo.
President Mubarak still has his supporters. They've been silent for days, but now here they come. First in groups of 10 or 20, then in their thousands, heading towards the television building in central Cairo. The opposition has its slogans, and the Mubarak people will not be outdone. A day after the crowds in Tahrir Square shouted, "Leave, leave, leave," these demonstrators are demanding that the president stay.
It looks as if the battle lines are drawn. These people are saying that they will give their blood and their souls to defend Mubarak.
While the army is staying neutral, there's no doubt about where the police's loyalty lies. They are openly in the Mubarak camp.
Please, we are Egyptians. All these people Egyptians, no foreigners. We like Mubarak. We want Mubarak.
The two sides dangerously close. Then the Mubarak supporters start to move towards the square. A wave of thousands surging forward, first on foot, then on horseback and mounted on camels. The army tries but ultimately fails to keep the two sides apart. The square, a scene of celebration for days, is now the front line in the struggle for Egypt's future. Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
It's certainly been a very dramatic day in Egypt. Hundreds of people are reported to have been injured in clashes between pro and anti-Mubarak supporters on the 9th day of demonstrations calling for the president to stand down. We've got one of our journalists on the ground there who joins us now on the line. Give us a sense of where you are and what's happening around you.
Back from across the Real Nile Bridge, which is the bridge that connects the Malik Island in the Nile to Tahrir Square. The road is barricaded off, the road leading into Tahrir Square, with 3 army tanks. And while I was there's a group of about 500 pro-Mubarak protesters who were standing outside of these tanks chanting slogans. Then at one point, they started throwing rocks over the tops of the tank. And the anti-Mubarak demonstrators in the square responded by throwing rocks of their own. And for about 15 minutes, this very pitched battle ensued. There was a barrage of rocks going back and forth, thousands of them flying through the air, some of them quite big. A number of people were hurt, I saw, on the side that I was standing on the side with the pro-Mubarak demonstrators. They carried away a number of injured people. I'm sure it was the same on the other side. And this went on for about 15 minutes before it finally stopped.
Okay.
After that, the demonstrators started climbing on top of the tanks, the pro-Mubarak demonstrators. The army was nowhere to be seen. And they started climbing on top of the tanks and waving signs and chanting slogans.
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Let's go to one of our other correspondents who's also on the ground. I hear you have some new information for us.
Yes, I'm standing on a balcony in a block of flats, and what I'm seeing is that there's a car that's going through all the streets and the alleyways. It's got army soldiers riding on the top of it. It's an open-topped car, and they are telling everyone to get back into their houses. They're holding their guns up, and they're shouting at everyone in the street to go inside. They're saying that there's some kind of danger. Now, just before that, maybe 5 minutes before that, I saw a police van moving through the street and heading towards the direction of Tahrir Square. And when I was standing outside on the street, I was hearing from people saying that state television had just said that the police had been deployed and that they had been ordered to shoot. Now, of course, you can hear that. I'm not sure if you heard that. It was the sound of a large explosion, and we are very close to Tahrir Square. We are high up, so we're not on the ground level, but certainly developments in terms of security. It seems that the army or the police, or perhaps both, are trying to do something, are trying to keep some kind of order or impose something.
Right.
Of course, we've been reporting that they haven't been doing so in the last few hours.
Indeed, and from the pictures we're seeing now, and do tell me if this is from your vantage point, if this is what you're also seeing. The crowds seem to have thinned inside the square. Is that what you're also seeing from where you are?
Well, I can't see the actual square, but I can see the surrounding area, and people are coming into it, so I assume that that's where they're coming from. And as I said, there is a very strong warning coming from the military. They're all out, and now I can see the truck going past. The same thing, really. They're shouting at people, even us on the balcony. They're telling us all, go inside and take cover.
Okay. Certainly some very interesting developments there coming from our correspondent there on the ground. Just give us an idea from earlier. Again, we've been saying this all day today, that the army really stood there and watched these clashes take place. Is it because they were overwhelmed with the crowds, or perhaps that they didn't receive an order to intervene?
Well, the army have said from the outset that their role is to maintain or to show a semblance of order on the street, and also to keep watch over main buildings, political institutions and important sites. They had said from the beginning that they won't fire on protests, and made clear at the start of this, really, that they wouldn't get involved. However, since Friday, these are the only really violent clashes that we've been seeing out on the streets. So I'm not sure how well thought out or how well prepared the army were for this. I can tell you that throughout the day here, twice we saw military tanks moving, going closer to the protesters, trying to make the tank a barrier between the pro and anti-Mubarak demonstrators. And then they'd simply retreat back after 5 minutes, and they'd let the